Hey everybody, happy Friday, and we're back to do more chord identification on musictheory.net. So, I slept on my practice yesterday and I made a few observations about it. And first and foremost, that's something I highly recommend you do when you're practicing anything, is think about the way you're practicing, make sure it works for you and you're learning the things you want to learn. So, what I realized is that, and you probably realized this too as you were watching, that my strategy for identifying the chords was to try to pick out all the single notes in the chord and then later form the chord out of these single notes. And I also mentioned in the video that this was one of two possible strategies for chord identification. The other way to do it is to just hear it all at once and just know based on the tone of the chord or the quality of the chord which of the chords it is. And this second method is probably preferred because it's faster, but it takes more memory and more experience to be able to do that. For instance, I was able to do that when a major triad happened, and my instincts, as I called them, were right once for a diminished triad, but most of the time I was singing the isolated notes. And what that means is that the skill I was building was really hearing isolated notes within a lot of notes being played at the same time. And I was also training other skills at the same time. I was just by building up memory of these new chords, like the Augmented Seventh. Over time, I even within that one practice session was able to hear that without picking up the individual notes. And also, I'm just in general, it's good theory practice to piece all these notes together, figure out what inversion they are of which of these chords. So it's all good practice for me, and I'm satisfied with it. But after only a single day of that, I don't think I made any long-term improvement. I might be better in the short term, but I'm going to need to repeat this a bit to make it have long-term benefits for me. So that's what we're going to do. And just one last thing, just about this site, I'm not so satisfied with its choices of intervals and chords. It seemed like we got a lot of repeated intervals. For instance, the Augmented Seventh with the seventh on the bottom interval. This one showed up 3 times, and I really didn't. I should have counted how many I got right versus how many problems I tried. You can see that here, 0 right out of 0. But thing is that last time I did it, it wasn't exactly, you might have seen numbers up there, but it was it was based on a lot of different things, not just my last practice session. A lot of just testing to get the stream right. So yeah, I think that's all I had to say. Oh, and then the last thing I wanted to do before we start, which I meant to do before last video, is run through all these chords and just say what they are and play them once. So a major triad, that's just the root, a major third, and a perfect fifth. Minor triad is the root, the minor third, the perfect fifth. Augmented triad is like major, but it has an augmented fifth. So it's like extremely major in some sense, that it's more spread out. Diminished triad is a minor with a diminished fifth. So in the same way, it's just a more flat version of a minor triad. A dominant seventh is a major triad with a dominant seventh. I guess, what would it be, a flat 7? Yeah, a minor seventh is the interval name. A major seventh is a major triad with a major seventh interval. Minor seventh is a minor triad with a minor seventh. And a minor major seventh is a minor triad with a major seventh. So I always kind of read that one wrong. really you should think of it as minor, and then the major word is attached to the seventh, so this is the name of the interval on top. And then a half diminished seventh is basically a diminished chord with a minor seventh. A diminished seventh is a diminished interval with, I guess you'd call it a diminished seventh. It's just a bunch of minor thirds stacked on each other. And augmented seventh, so these two chords, this is something I learned from this site. I mean, I guess I always knew that these chords existed, but I didn't realize that I could use them for some reason. So augmented seventh would be an augmented chord with a minor seventh on it. And then there's augmented major seventh, which is augmented chord with a major seventh on top. And just for my sake, I figured out, usually when you have a chord, there's an underlying scale that you would play over the chord. And for the augmented seventh, I'm basically getting that it's a whole tone scale you would play underneath it. So if this is your E major or E augmented seventh chord, you'd play E whole tone. And if you've got augmented major seventh, that's basically the seventh chord for a Lydian augmented scale. No. Yep. Lydian augmented is like a major scale, but it's got a raised fourth, a raised fifth. And then a suspended 2 would just be the 1, the 2, and the 5. Sorry. And a suspended fourth would be a 1, a 4, and a 5. And then a dominant seventh suspended fourth would just be a suspended fourth with a minor seventh. Alright, so the time is 9:26, so I'm going to go until 9:46. And now that I'm starting, I thought it would be a good time to talk about the strategy I'm using when I'm doing isolated notes in a chord. So usually when you hear a chord, one note sticks out, and that's like one you would sing if you played it. For me, it's the bum. And then, so once you've got a note that you think is in the chord, you want to play it in your head before you replay back the chord. And that'll help you pick it out in isolation. Then basically, once you have that, you try to listen for other parts of it, get ideas about what notes might be in there, and then do the same strategy to verify that they're in there. So I heard that one. Now I'm hearing this one, so I'm going to sort of play this in my head. I'm going to play it actually on the piano so you can hear it too. And then I think there's an A2. No, there's not. So that's what I've been doing without really saying it and going a little faster. But yeah, that was a E, F sharp, and a B. So it's suspended 2. Oh, I forgot. I need to go into my settings. I like it when I get to click again to go to the next question. That way I can verify that I'm right. That's a suspended fourth. Alright, I'm hearing an augmented triad, but I think there's another note in there. There is. It's the minor seventh. Yep. That one was in root position. That's just diminished triad. Major triad. That was again augmented seventh. So this one, I heard the notes in that order. I wasn't sure what the top interval was compared to the bottom, but I heard that the distance between the third note and the next note was a major second. And just after playing around with the augmented seventh chords, I realized in an augmented seventh that there's a perfect second between the third note and the fourth note. So that's how I figured that one out. That happens sometimes, is that you hear the interval of two notes within a chord that has more than two notes, but you have a trouble figuring out what the interval is, even though if you heard that interval in isolation, it would be easy to figure out. That's because the context might change how the interval sounds. For instance, you can have basically a tritone, has a very distinct sound, but maybe if you put this note on the bottom, a G, when your tritone is a B and an F, it might change the way the tritone sounds, because now it sounds more like a dominant chord, a G dominant chord, than before it probably sounded most like a B diminished chord. So that can be tricky, and that's what happened to me that time. And I had to use sort of other knowledge to sort of hack my answer. Sounds like a major seventh. I'm just going to isolate the notes to verify. Yep. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. I think I'm hearing like a major triad, and then below the root of the major triad, something that's a major third down. No. Yeah, I heard. I wasn't sure if this is a major augmented. Okay, I was totally wrong in what I thought I was hearing, but I got the notes right. Augmented major seventh. That's major. And it's F again. Right? Yeah, we got an F major last time, so this is what I'm talking about I don't like how the random number generator is figuring out the questions for us. That's dominant 7. That's diminished, but I don't know if it's diminished or 7th. It's a 7th. Minor. Dominant. Diminished. Major 7th. Minor. Minor. Augmented Triad. Dominant 7. Yeah, it's a smooth 4th. Oh, it's easier because there's no inversions this time. I was wondering why I was doing so much better. Augmented 7th. Yep. Minor. That's minor major 7. That's dominant sus7. Sus4, yeah. Okay. This is too easy. We need to add the inversions. I'm hearing a 1, a 3, a sharp 4, and a 5. Is that right? Which is augmented major 7. Yep. It's minor triad. Major. Diminished 7. I'm hearing a 1, a 3, a 5, and a flat 6. Interesting. Is this also an augmented major 7? Huh. So a 1, a 3, a 5, and a sharp 4 ends up being a augmented major 7th. How does that work? Hmm. I don't think it is. I think I just misheard the first time this happened, and I was actually hearing the same thing. Because the 1, 3, the sharp 4, and the 5 doesn't actually end up being augmented major 7th in any interval. Yeah, it must have been this 1, 3, 5 flat 6 last time as well. I was gonna say it surprised me that both of those two things were intervals of the same chord. Yeah, diminished 7th. I wasn't sure if it was a half diminished. I thought I was hearing a minor 7th on the top. I'm just hearing this. Yep. And these are definitely a lot of the same inversions as we heard last time. Whoa. Ah, that's actually hilarious. Because at first I heard a G, a C, and a D. And then I thought it was a suspended 4th. Then I heard a F, a G, and a C, and I thought it was a suspended 2nd. But it actually was all 4 notes. So that's interesting. There's an inversion of the dominant 7 suspended 4, which has both a suspended 2nd and a suspended 4th in it. So much suspense. Having trouble picking this one apart, but I think I hear an augmented chord in it. Yeah, I thought there was something else there. Is it? No? It might be this. Oh, that would make sense. It actually does sound like a minor major seventh. Alright, well that's 20 minutes. So I do think I improved even after just this one round. Probably just because I'm really rusty, so I'm getting my chops back. I noticed that it's hard to isolate notes that have a minor second interval, just a semitone apart. That has happened to me a few times. But besides that, I'm getting better. And I'll just continue to do this a little more next week and then hopefully move on to something else. So, happy weekend. See you guys later.